Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wildcard podcast. Well, G is back after a crazy couple rounds. We had a lot of issues, but we're glad to have him back. I want to thank Cody Lamas for making the thumbnail where he put Short's name. It's always a fun one, and then Short for doing that 3-hour long monologue. That was the first two rounds, and we had 48 matches in D1 and roughly around, I think it was almost 42 around there for D2. A lot of matches to cover with a brief overview. But it's good to have G back. Could be a little different format tonight, G, as you have to catch up a little bit. I'll let you kind of have the floor, and then we'll run in with those S16 recaps. All right, man, it's good to have you back. What was your thoughts on the tournament so far in both divisions, and what are some things to look out for, and who are you surprised a bit?
I think it's been a unique first two rounds. I think for D2, you're starting to see some of the potential early contenders rise up, whether it be people who didn't have great seasons last year, people who had solid seasons last year who are taking it a step forward this season, and then just rookies who came out of the bunch and are showing out early on. So, I mean, a few names I could think of. King of Red, to start off, he technically had a good showing earlier, even before the tournament started, with the Grimland victory, which, I mean, we've said a million times, but can't emphasize enough how big of a win that was, because he had to beat some D1 players to do that. So for Red, it's been a good start for him so far. As of what I missed, he's 2 for 2 right now. We'll go over the round of 16 here in a bit, but overall, I've been impressed with him. Cyan, who had a poor season last year. Whether not you agree with him or not with his antics, he's done a good job so far going through this bracket. And round of 16, where he played England, we'll discuss that game in a bit. But then you also have players like Luke, who was close to making the D2 championship last season, LCQ final, came up short there, but came in as a preseason favorite and has absolutely delivered on that aspect. Been on a roll so far. We'll see how he did in the round of 16, but those are just some quick names I wanted to shout out in D2 before we dive further into it as a preview. And then for D1, it's been interesting so far. We've had a few shock upsets. I've been impressed with Leah, because I think being a 16 seed and making a run like that is tough to do. And we had someone also in D2 with Scars, but for Leah, especially after going 0-5 last season and staying in D1 because of the relegation tournament, it's good to see Leah be able to get that bounce back, and with 2 wins, putting herself in a pretty safe spot to not have to go through the relegation tournament again. So I'm happy for her. I was waiting for that first win. She got it in the round 64, and she's now got 2 to her name. So she had a tough matchup against Yepes in this round 16, though. We'll see how that one went as a recap. And then, of course, some of the other underdogs with Nick. Not Toasty. Why did I say Toasty? He's not an underdog. So with Nick, Logan having a really good run. And that's it for the massive underdogs, really. Those are the only 3 double-digit seeds left. Everyone else has kind of been towards the forefront. We've had a very top-heavy March Madness so far, which is not usually what we see, but cream of the crop is coming out here and showing out. So we'll break down the round 16 there, and then go from there. But yeah, mostly been top heavy. Other than that, only other big upset I can think of is Clay over Tapir. That was a pretty significant one. Clay really having a good showing so far, and then Carson over Tago. Carson was really not able to get much going last season, even though he had some promise, but a win over Tago, Space September winner, was a pretty big one to help start his season off as he enters the round of 16. But besides that, I don't really know if I have much to say. I mean, the round of 32 for D1 was a bit of a blind spot for me, because I unfortunately did not have a ton of time to fully digest those games, but yeah, we'll break down the round of 16 where I got to see a little bit more of the action, and we'll do that for both D2 and D1.
Yeah, round 32 already been done. We already did that with Short, but we'll start off the round of 16. Thank you, G, for those opening thoughts. Let's begin at the top half of the region, and it was a absolute curb stomper. Actually, Logan coming in as the underdog, as you said. There was not much to say about this game. within 30 minutes. Ashley doesn't play short games. Well, everyone thought she played slow after the ridiculous series that was Andreas Allen, but fortunately for her, Allen was her biggest challenge because Logan was no challenge. God bless the guy for making it this far, but man, too many switches. Didn't have a little bit of the luck he needed on his end, and unfortunately, you can't do that against the world champ. I wish I had more to say about this D, but this is Ashley doing her thing. Thoughts on her making it? Remember, dating back to, let's call it last year. This is now 6 games in a row. She's won 3 Super League games and now 3 March Madness. Thoughts on her hot streak as it continues and Logan's impressive run despite flaming out the end there?
I think for Ashley, it's good for Ashley because now this is beating Yepez's mark from last season on defending the crown in the first tournament, making it all the way to the regional finals. Her path has been a mixed bag. I mean, Monaco with a surprising showing nearly caused Ashley to have a disaster start to the season. But then also Allen gave it a good fight as a 9 seed. But then Logan curb stomp. Unfortunately for Logan, some of his fortunes ran out. He had a good win over Background and also another one over Monkey. Which one you think is better is a topic of debate. But yeah, I think Ashley's just kind of been on a roll so far. Hasn't really lost a beat since last season. And yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see how this regional final matchup goes. Ashley looking for what would be her 4th Final Four. Super League technically wouldn't be in that mix. Yeah, because I mean March.
No, it'd be her 4th if you count Super League.
It'd be 4th if you count Super League, 3rd if it's the regular season. So it'd be her 3rd because she made the regional finals in what's it called? Space September. So yeah, Ashley already putting herself in a great spot here to start the season, and we'll see where it goes from here. But interesting opponent coming up for her in the regional finals to make it back to the Final Four.
Yeah, Ashley on a roll right now. I think it just shows her grit, man. At the end of the day, to win 6 in a row, there's only 2 people on streaks right now that are long, and that's one of them. We'll get to the other player in a little bit. It's not easy to continue to be great, and I know Sapir talked about in one of the streams. There's eventually going to be a correction, but haven't seen no correction where she stays off the pedestal. We'll see how it goes in the next round. This next game, man, this is a tough one.
This is all I gotta say on this one is different song, same verse. Because yeah, it's not looking great for Caesar. But go ahead.
The only good silver line for Caesar, he did finish 2nd place in the Masters class. Was supposed to be the class that everyone thought would be the challenger this year, even the Legends, and it hasn't worked because Chama got done the S16. He finished off Caesar. Happy for Caesar to at least get the 2nd in the class, but Chama just had too much. Caesar got sniffed out game 1, and then after that, it was a role reversal. It was like I said, same song, second, just a reversal of fortune where he really does well. Now, I will say, everyone says quad 3 and 4, he's the master. I disagree with that because I think the Goldie win could be a quad 2 win, suspiciously, if Goldie gets hot. I think that actually might become a good win. Not the worst loss from Chami. We know Chami's great. But we're going to get the Lost File matchup. The Super League Lost Files edition, the first one in history. Actually, Chamic coming up in a regional. Thoughts on Jay Caesar, man? At least he had a good start. He's got 2 wins on the bank. But you're right. He's still looking for that big fish win. Chamic, the Vengeance Tour continues.
I actually think I said different song, same verse. I don't know why, but I apologize. I meant same song, different verse. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's just kind of what we've seen from Caesar so far throughout his career, where it's like a big matchup, and unfortunately, just is not able to pull through. So tough going for Caesar. He needs to find a breakthrough this season because with how competitive this field is, I really don't know if rolling through these lower seeded players and then just coming up short against the top seeds is going to be enough to make Super League, because again, he missed the field last season decently convincing, was in the top 25 but was not really in the conversation to be on the bubble. But yeah, maybe Goldie could be a good one. We'll have to see. I do have a lot of optimism in Goldie, and I do have her in my Super League playoffs, but we'll have to see. For Chamic, I mean, again, the redemption keeps things going for him, again, with the DQ, and now gets a rematch with Ashley right away. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that match happens. It should happen this time, but
it will.
Well, there you go. But we'll kind of get, I guess, a preview or I guess a view on what could have happened in Super League. And I mean, if Chomik wins that game, that could open up a can of discussions on what would have happened if that game actually happened during Super League. But yeah, 1-2 in the Gryffindor region. Weirdly enough, you don't usually see that, but that's what we have right now. So cream of the crop coming to the top there, and yeah, we'll see who wins this one.
Yeah, the only reason to have that, we'll explain a little bit why later. We'll go over to the Hufflepuff, and this was a joke on stream. A lot of jokes were being thrown around way after dark. 11 o'clock, it got late. I was not here. I had to watch. I couldn't even watch tape because apparently this game was just too not the most professional. But when it came down to it, yeah, Yepez in a rematch. Leah obviously lost to Yepez 4-2 last year in round 1. Basically the same song, second verse, 5-2. I just don't think Leah had the experience enough with Yepez. Yepez is a world champion. He's on a vengeance tour. Right now, he's one of the hottest players entering this tournament. I didn't expect anything. I couldn't have saw the upset. Thoughts on Leah's run, but Yepez starting to look ominous as another top player moves on.
Yeah, Yepez is the one person left in this tournament whose run is filled with pure rage. He was very upset with the way things went at the end of last season, not making Super League, and he is out here to prove that he should have been in the field and to just clock his spot up right away. Doesn't even want to go with the potential of the discussions last season, and just wants to get that locked up spot. So he is running through. This bracket with rage. He has not had a close. He had one close game with Brian, but besides that, he has kind of just stormed through his opponents, took out Hockey very convincingly, dismantled Leah, and now goes into this next matchup with a player who was in Super League last season. Not necessarily a spoiler because both players in this next one were in Super League, but we'll see how the Yepez this next round is going to be his biggest challenge here, and we'll see if he can make it back to the Final Four. For Leah, I kind of said this before, I think this was a good run, even if this ending was not great. To get to the round of 16 as a 16th seed is not easy, and she was able to do that by beating two really good players, Turner in a 4-3 and then returning Arya. So I was impressed with what Leah was able to do, and we'll see what she does for the rest of the season. But I think for her, the important thing is getting on the win column and going forward from there. And also for random shout out to Litwell, but one of her co-hosts is actually going to make their D2 debut in tournament 2 in Archery April next tournament. So we might see how they do there, but. That's a random side tangent. We'll go to this next game here, which was it's Ghost Captain, and it went pretty much the way you would expect a captain match to go. KT, how do you take it from here?
So Seth and I would like to forget this match is streamer. Seth's debut on stream, and no fault of his own. Gee, we had about 45 minutes of airtime. Right, 45 minutes of airtime was fill time. We had to fill up. It was an hour broadcast. Seth and I usually go over 2. 45 minutes was just yapping. There was no gameplay. Ghost tried everything. Cap was too dominant. His strategy on the low tier, too powerful. Not much to say. Cap gets it done, and boy, oh boy, what a rematch we have. Back from that T2, round 2. Cap Yepez, here we go again, round 2. Who's ready for seconds? Thoughts on a big win for Cap? And, for Ghost, not the worst start to the year, considering last March was a disaster. Well, a lot to look forward to for him, especially where he cooked in T2 and 3.
I don't think this was a bad run for Ghost. It's a good start, but I think he is going to want a little bit more going forward. For Captain, it's just kind of been the way he's rolled throughout most of his career in MRE and even just outside of other leagues in general. For Captain Yepez, I think the big thing for Yepez is he wants to be able to get 2 wins on the board to start things out, because Captain has beaten every single one of his opponents, with them only getting 1 win. So Yepez is going to want to make sure he at least gets out to at least a close game to start things out. Because, I mean, if Captain runs away with it early, like 3-0, that's going to be a huge it's going to be huge trouble for Yepez. So That's the biggest thing I'm looking for in that matchup. But Captain just kind of rolling through his low tier package, which has always worked. I mean, you would think it wouldn't usually work since low cards, some of it's roulette, but Captain has just found a way to make it go very well, and that's basically what he's known for now. So, Captain to the regional finals. That's a thing we might say a lot throughout the rest of the season, but yeah, Captain still has not lost a beat since his loss in Super League, but had a great season last season. Looking to do the same this season.
Cap looking good. Gonna be a great one with him and Yepes. I think that could be cinema coming up on Friday morning. Now, this match was Opportunity Central. Both guys really have not been here or very low experience in this round. Zandy, Nick, and one had never even appeared here. That was Nick, and he looked like the veteran. Andy had a lot of weird wins to get. The ad game, light switch galore, found a way to limit that. Zach, great story, but unfortunately, just didn't have enough for him the second round. And then Nick just, when he started to get better reps, it just seems he controlled the game. I don't really have much to say here, G. Wasn't here, but this was all Nick all day. I couldn't really pinpoint a mistake to where he made one. I think Andy just had too much ammo where it just wasn't played, or he mistimed a lot of stuff. Probably one of the more bad games in the round. Thoughts on this game?
I think it's a good time to say also that for now I'm technically retiring the worst game buzzer since since it kind of devolves into a whole different thing usually. But that's not to say that certain soundboards will not pop up in the future. But this wasn't great for Nick. It's the run he's going on the run that I thought he was gonna go on last season. So better late than never. But yeah, I don't know. Andy didn't really have much for this one. I've always been a bit mixed on Andy in terms of a player. I think there's moments where he shines and then moments where they completely fall apart. And I think this was a moment where they were not doing very well in the match. So Nick with a big win, makes it to the regional finals. And little tidbit here, I talked to KT last night, I believe, about this, but there's only 4 seed lines that have never made a Final Four, and the 12 line is one of them. So Nick looking for a little history there, and trying to knock off another seed line that hasn't made it there yet. But the other 3 lines, if anyone's curious, 15 and 16, which are expected, but also the 11 line. The 11 line has never made the Final Four, so we'll see if that happens this season. It's definitely not happening this tournament. All the 11 seeds, I think, lost in the first round. So it's not looking too good there, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. But Nick with a big run here, looking to make a little history as well with a potential win in the regional finals. But we'll see if they can beat their upcoming opponent.
It'll be a rematch, and this was probably one or two of the best games. This was a good one. Toaster guy was not playing 100, had a lot of distractions, found a way to beat Carson. Carson had opportunities to call him out. It made game-changing plays after he had swept Taga, which was, at the time, one of the more shocking results of this tournament. But Toaster Guy finds a way. He'll get the rematch with Nick for Masquerade May. It's going to be a good one. But, gee, once again, another great run for Carson in March. There's been a couple players. We talk about this on the theory. Is there just one specific tournament where people can get hot? Or, the old junior at Daytona Talladega. Right? This is Carson. He's very hot. He can get very hot in March, and it's been his MO. Thoughts on his run here getting a top 10 or pretty close to it, and thoughts on Toaster Guy and Nick as a rematch. That's going to be interesting because there's no quote-unquote card like to bail you out with the old bot. This is a new bot.
I mean, for Carson, it was an interesting run, but I've kind of said before, Carson's been a player who's had flashes and hasn't, but maybe less variable compared to Andy. But yeah, I mean, the Tago win's big. Got a solid win on Lara, which is a bit of a question mark going into the season. Some people had them mid-pack, some people have had them close to the relegation bubble. We'll see how that goes. But, I mean, just in general, Toaster Guy just was able to keep things rolling here, makes it back to the regional finals. And, again, there's another Super League player who is deep into this bracket. So, a lot of these players want to add their name to the list of March Madness winners. Again, we have Onjack, who has kind of been nowhere, unfortunately, since that March Madness win. But then you also have UKT, who is also on another run right now, potentially looking to go 2-for-2, which would be kind of wild. But yeah, Toaster Guy with the big win, looking to make it back to another Final Four and put himself in a good spot heading into the rest of the season.
Toaster Guy moves on. Another Super League match for another Super League player and Toaster Guy. But he'll get a rematch. Not a rematch. We got 2 rematches and a lost file rematch. What will happen in this final region? Well, this was the best game of the round. And I just don't understand to this day how Clay Wolf lost this game. He had 5 +4s. Lane had no wild +4s. No wilds till game 4. Was not there. That's what Short told me. Yet he found a way to lose. Mind-blowing. Lane Sanders does not look like the same player. And we talked about this on the last episode. His power play game is lethal. He'll use it. He doesn't care about winning the game with it. He'll just use it to get ahead. That's what he did in game 9. He didn't care about winning the game. He was at 17. And he used one and just changed the whole course of momentum. Clay was iced out. Thoughts on this game? Because this is the one game where you look at the results. How did Lane even get a game on this guy? Yet win the series in 9. Obviously, it made sense in win 9. He had no +4s, but it's the only game to have win 9. It was a rematch of T2 tournament, or round 2, excuse me. Or round 1, actually, I think it was. Where Clay lost 4-3 to Lane when Lane was a 15. My gosh, how times have changed. Now he's a top player. Thoughts on Lane making a big statement there?
I think the big thing for Clay with the +4s, there is sometimes the timing of when you get it is important. And for Clay, looking back in this match, I think the timing of that got a little messed up from what he was looking for. So was able to use it, but wasn't able to convert it as a win, but rather just something that kind of set things back and made it run a little longer. And unfortunately, with Lane's really good power play usage, was just not able to find a way to close the game out. Lane with a really impressive win. We've seen a real resurgence from him since that domination over Monkey in Tournament 4 last season, and he's just kind of been on a roll, which has been surprising because we did not see that at all from him in 2023 or the start of 2024. So Lane's been continuing on a streak here. Really has put himself into the upper echelon of players, and we will see if he makes the Final Four here. Going to have a tough opponent coming up, but I have been pretty impressed with Lane over these last few months, and we'll see if he can keep things going.
Well, that opponent's going to be Meiji, and this game had a lot on the line this game. You think it's a Sweet 16. Come on, KT, now. What's going on here? But got to the 100 wins. Only 2 guys have done it, myself and Sanford. First guy to do it in league history, G. 20 series wins. No one's done that, right? Took care of business. And last night was about just understanding Stingray's table talk. Tried some dark strats. Usually you would think that would never work, right? But Sting doesn't like those slower players. I took advantage of it, played a little slower. Beginning wasn't working too favorably, but then once I hit the game 5, pulled the pin. All right, that's it. It's time to make a move, and I got through. It's been a classic KT March, man, dating back to our last 3rd place game in 2023. I've won 10 in a row in this tournament. It's probably we're never going to see that again, right? You think about to win 10 in a row in any given tournament, right? In this specific one is hard. There's enough to be said about me, but I want to know from your perspective what you've been impressed with and thoughts on Sting's run.
I mean, for you, it's kind of just been impressive that you're keeping the run going. And most of these games you've played has just kind of been pretty controlled for the most part. The Acosta game, that was an expected win. I was a little surprised with how the Drip game went. Drip did not come out the way I was thinking he would. And then the Stingray game, Stingray just really had nothing there, so... you've never missed the Final Four in March Madness. You're looking to keep the streak up, so been interesting to see you be able to run through this and get some history along the way with the 20 career wins, most in the league currently. And yeah, I think Lane's going to be the toughest opponent you've faced so far, but we shall see how that goes. I think both you guys are riding some momentum. Lane more long-term momentum, you with some more short-term with the run you've been on with March, but we'll see which one comes out on top here. Sanders looking to deny you your first Final Four in March, and then you looking to go for 3 straight. So going to be curious to see how that one goes. I think there's a lot of compelling stories going into that matchup.
It will be. It'll be a good matchup for sure. Now we'll do it for the topic 1. We got G's thoughts a little bit, but we're going to get a deeper dive, G. It's all you, man, with D2. You'll probably ask me a question or two, and then we'll get into the topic 3, which is very interesting. Let's go G with D2. Go for it, G. All you.
I mean, I'll start with this. We talked about this before. Like, you thought overall for round 16, it wasn't necessarily a great round for T1, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't. Cream rose to the top, no doubt.
Well, I actually think D2's round of 16 was a really good round. There was a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of storylines that came out of it. So I think we'll have a bit of a dive through here. We'll start with from the top here, Arctic region. Geo Marcus, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme here. This went 9. Geo found himself down 4-2 late into this match, and it was looking a bit dire. He was not really feeling confident about his situation, but slowly but surely was able to bring things back, brought it to a game 9, and then was able to pass over Marcus with no power play, because both power plays got used earlier in the match, to win that 5-4. Great comeback for Geo, second career win. He's really been on a run in this tournament after a disappointing last season, and now finds himself in a regional final and one match away from locking up a playoff spot. So Geo in a phenomenal spot. Marcus, his rookie run unfortunately comes to an end, but a good rookie run nonetheless. Had that interesting long game with Omni, which was when he barely escaped, and then one where he dominated over deleted, but comes up short in this one. Was interesting to see how that ended up, but overall a good start to the round. And then in the other one, we also had another 4-2 comeback, but in my opinion, this one was a little bit more impressive, and it was Nathan Ridley. Nathan, who, again, has had one foot out the door, not really feeling optimistic about his involvement, has just kind of been all over the place, but the other foot that is in the door has been lights out, on fire. He has been on a roll this tournament, and he was able to make a 4-2 comeback on Ridley when Ridley had the power play also, so had to tread careful waters there, and was able to do so. Won 3 in a row to make it to his first ever regional finals. Big run for Nathan so far, and he has home field for the regional finals, so that is a slight advantage for him going into this one. We'll see how he does with that, but Geo Nathan for Arctic Regional Final, any thoughts on that one? Any thoughts on either the run specifically, or what they did in the round of 16?
Well, it's hard, man, to think about this, but with Nathan being checked out, you don't really have a read on that. I wasn't there at the reveals. I said, sometimes when you have the no motivate, you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to gain, you just don't care anymore, or you don't have the urge to go out there and prove a hater or prove a doubter wrong. You're not on house money, but you're also on no money. You're on this hybrid system where, okay, I know this is it, yet you're still hoping out hope that there's going to be a change in this, because really it's a systematic thing. If we change a certain part of the system, maybe he comes back, but it's we know it isn't happening, but he's still holding out hope, and that's giving him the drive. As for Geo, I haven't seen much of these games, right? But I do sometimes study tape. I think with him it's the table talk. How does he limit that? Right? I think it will work on certain players, but a guy like this, I don't know if it will. That'll be an interesting match. Did you ask me something else, or is there anything else you want?
No, just any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on Gio going into this one, or is that all?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on that is, like I said, he's got to limit the table, so I think Nathan he'll find a way to put up a fight, and that's what's the scary part is if he keeps continuing, we start running into questions of, well, what if he makes a finale even, right? Then what do we do here, right? So there's a lot of things I think Gio's got to look into to pull the upset. I think Nathan will find a way to put up a fight. It's just going to come down to these little intangibles with the longer series, which they're not used to. Best of nines and, a little bit longer format, the endurance battle could come into play. Keep going, though. You're good.
Yep. I'm going to kind of merge these into one here. I'll read off the predictions we had for these matches. Most of these haven't happened. The last one actually happened as of this recording today, so we'll just probably dive into that one quickly. But for Nathan, Gio, me and KT both have Nathan winning 5-3, so we'll see how that goes. We'll say Yoshi had Gio winning 5-3, and I think that one's part of just hoping that Gio can pull through. We'll see. Then for Bobsled region, Bree Scars, this was a very talkative match. Scars looking to be the first 16 seed to make the regional finals ever. That's never happened before in the league. Leah tried to do it in D1, did not come very close. Scars came much, much closer, brought it to, once again, Game 9. But Bree was able to maneuver her way at the end of it to get the win. And, I mean, we talk about Table Talk. Bree is probably the shining example of this. Has used Table Talk to her advantage, kind of similar to what we see out of Rana, except a little less chaotic. But this has been an impressive showing from Bree so far in their debut. We had a 4-0 on Arnhem, and then now it takes out Scars, who was probably the scariest player going into this round, but I think we have a new scariest player going forward. So big win for Bree. Moves on to the regional finals, and it's going to be rookie-on-rookie action as King of Red, Myhill went down. That was the opening match, and King of Red was able to, in a very quick game, win 5-3. Myhill, unfortunately, it was mostly plan A, and unfortunately that plan A did not involve him getting the game wins, so had a hard time in that one, was not able to pull through. So Red continuing on his streak and looking to make the Final Four. Despite some ongoing issues right now that he's trying to work through. We'll see how it goes as recording his matches in 2 hours. But Bree, Red, KT, any thoughts on either of these players? I know you have a good insight on Red. I don't know how much you really know about Bree specifically, but just any comments on these? And again, the match is in 2 hours as the recording of this, so that one's coming up soon.
I've only seen a couple things from Bree. It just seems Table Talk City. Seems to be one of the younger players in the league. You think this would be Red all day 5-0, but he's got so much distractions. And we talk about in this league, everything's got to work perfectly. That includes off the table. And, well, it's not happening for Red right now. He's got to go through a bunch of adversity. He'll either make him stronger or he'll have to suffer the fate. Right? I want to say Bree has a chance in this game. I think I said it was 5-0 only because Red may not be fully invested in the game. But, man, I don't know. Red plays this brand of Uno where he can get the fade going. He can also get a little bit of some crazy looks, right, in terms of control. Not so much an but numbers, right? He knows how to play the draws and draw City when he has to. I think the thing with Bree is he plays lower numbers, I've noticed. Those 5, 6, 8, 7 games, we see that a lot with the roulette table. Cap, of course. It could work if in your favor if you got a player that plays upper tier and it gets in your head, and it could affect game flow. It could, because Red's not at 100%. So I'm going to give Bree a fighting chance. I'll go Red. I think he'll find something at the end, but not really confident because you got to be locked in these tournaments, man. If you're not, it's hard to know what actually will be on the other side. Because even if you do get past, are you sure you're going to be clear of that problem? That's what makes this league different. There's wait times, and there's also ways to be composed, and you have to be more composed off the table, even if you don't think about it. So we'll give Red a shot here, but it's going to be closer than people think.
Yeah, again, for the scores, I had 5-2, Red, you had 5-3, and then Yoshi also went 5-4. So Red favored. We'll see what happens there. Winner of that will be the lowest seed in the Final Four, in D2 at least. We'll see how Nick does in D1, but if Nick loses that, then he'll be the lowest in the Final Four across both divisions. And then for the Coco region, this is an interesting one. And again, I said you see this trend. Both these games went to 9. There were a lot of game 9s in this one. But Mark Evan was one of the most interesting matches I think I've seen in this entire tournament so far. Because Mark put on an absolute masterclass, and that's not really something we usually expect out of Mark. He was kind of all over the place last season, had a good run in Acoustic August where he lost in the regional finals to Alex in 7. So was 1 off from making the Final Four, and a lot of people thought that was the reason he didn't make the D2 championship. I mean, what a showing from Mark here. Evan, probably one of the best rookies entering the tournament, and he was proving that so far throughout this bracket. Had a 4-2 win over Rune in the prior round, but Mark had good control of the game. It went 9, but there were a lot of situations where Mark was not favored in games based off the hands, and he was able to just find a way. Had an incredible fade look to win game 3, and just had good control of the pace and good usage of power play to make sure the game was healthy and secured for him. So Mark moves on to technically back-to-back regional finals. Again, incredible performance for Mark, and that's not to discredit Evan. He had a really great showing too, but just was not enough there because Mark put on an absolute. That was probably that was a Mark legacy game in my opinion. So tough to fight that as Evan, but Evan showed a lot of good stuff this tournament. He'll be back. And then on the other side of things, Cyan Titan and Sam England. This was an interesting game. Unfortunately, Cyan was complaining quite a bit during the game, but managed to find a way back. He was down 4-2, was trying to slowly bring things back, and then brought it to 4-4 game 9. England was trying to close the game out, couldn't find a way. Had to use power play, which we don't usually see out of England, but it was a draw power play, and that actually gave England enough of a lifeline to capitalize, switch things up to get a Uno call, and then Cyan unfortunately played the wrong number, and England was able to get the switch to win the series. There was obviously, unfortunately, some words afterwards of disappointment, but England, an incredible turnaround here, making it to the regional finals. And again, I mean, after getting demoted from D1, I think this is a really great sign for anyone who ends up getting demoted in the future that just because you get demoted doesn't mean you can't have a bounce back. And it's England having an incredible bounce back tournament. Makes it to the regional finals here, going up against Mark. That's going to be a really good game to watch out for. I think both have really compelling stories to make the Final Four. So any thoughts on the Mark England game and any thoughts on how either of them did in their prior round matches?
Mark put on his legacy game. We'll see if he can put on his legacy face next. England got through, which, Cody's smart at the end of the day. You say what you want about the guy. I still think he could be a top 10 player in his league. I know he complains a lot. That's what, you know what? One day he's going to figure it out and say, okay, I got to buckle down. Now, for England, look, he came from D1. You got to bounce back, but there's other things that are going on behind the scenes with him. I didn't know about this. I'm not going to say it, but you wonder what that's going to do to him mentally. I picked him to win this game over Mark, but I didn't know about some of this. I won't change it, but he's got to dig deep on this one. Mark looked pretty good. We're going to talk about the one guy who I think really could be a serious contender. I mentioned him at the beginning of the year. I said one of these two can win it all. We'll talk about him in a second, but Mark's going to have to show up because he plays that true round style, the true rules, true round style of, okay, I'm going to play this brand of Uno where I got a +2. Oh, I'm not going to fade. I'm going to play it. He didn't do that as much, and that's interesting because usually when you do that, it becomes more of a Pandora's box in a sense where you open it up and, okay, this guy's playing true rules. He's got no ammo left. But he didn't do that. He has looked different since the Mihel series where he played insanely. It was just a crack show. I wonder what he can do. This round, I think England finds a way. I think I said 5-4, but it will not be easy. Mark he'll put a fight, and he could easily pull the upset. Well, not really upset, but pull the rug under England, who has the experience. Maybe an upset in seeding, but in terms of experience, England's had more EXP for sure.
Yeah, we'll see who ends up coming out on top of this one. Again, both with really interesting stories going to this one. Mark looking for some redemption, and England as well, but both looking for redemption for different reasons. But for predictions, I had it up. Hold on a second. For the predictions, everyone predicted 9. I went with Mark 5-4. You went with England 5-4, and then Yoshi went with Mark 5-4. So a lot of people think that game's going to be down to the wire. We'll see how that goes. But then for dashing, which is the one regional final match that did happen, we'll start with round 16. Taco was able to take out Aiden Smith. And an unfortunate end for Aiden, had a slight mistake at the end of Game 9 where he both didn't call out and didn't use defensive power play when he could have. And it kind of derailed his chances of winning the game. And unfortunately for him, that marks his end of the February flurry. But I think it was still a solid showing for him nonetheless. Taco making it to the regional finals in another good showing. And then for Luke Clint Green, respect to Clint for making it this far. I know you were very unhappy with it, but I think Clint had a good bounce back tournament as well, but unfortunately he was no match for Luke, who has been on an absolutely monstrous run. And I said that I think there's a new scariest player to face, and that is Luke. Luke has been on an absolute tear throughout these first 3 rounds. He won that one 5-2, so the most dominating win of the round since 6 of the 8 games went to game 9. So a very competitive round in general, but Luke Clint, it was not really much to write home about. Luke got ahead early and just kind of ran away with it from there, and then Taco Smith came down to the wire. This regional final did happen happen already, but before we get into that, any comments on Taco Smith or just Luke's run throughout the bracket so far?
Luke's been a monster. Clint, I shook hands with him. We're fine now, but Luke's been a monster. He took care of Clint pretty convincingly. We'll see what he does here. Taco, yeah, he got away with murder. I think Aiden Smith, we talked about his composure with table awareness. You know, that's part of it, man. It's part of the drill, right? And Aiden Smith talked about this when I did his one match with Atomic. It was going to be, as he would go as far as he would take it. And I think this is a good example. If he took it pretty far, but unfortunately, when he tried taking far, it was too short in the end, these clutch moments. I think he still bounces back, getting a top, I'm going to assume a top 10. I know the results haven't been finalized, but I'm sure somewhere around there. It's a good start for him. He can make a move. Taco, I got away with a little bit, but you know what? Survive and advance. This is the only... I know every tournament is technically a 1-0 or 0-1, but March especially, because everyone's got fresh regulations or fresh styles that come out the ballpark after a long off season. It is all about surviving. It doesn't really matter. There's no quad system. Right? There's none of that. Well, down here, there's nothing at all of that. There's just no system down here in March. It's just go out there, whoever you play on your schedule is who you play, and hope you survive in advance. It's the beauty of it. And now everyone has that mindset. Everyone nowadays wants to be on that, well, what's my quad, right? What's my blah, blah, and you get too worked up about it. I think Luke is one of those players that doesn't care about no quads. He just goes into them. Taco's similar to his way. Just go out there and play. And let's see how this match goes. I guess I can take this one, Z, because I did the damn thing.
You were, but I mean, before you do that, I mean, it was a universal prediction for Luke 5-3. And then you were talking about Taco surviving and advancing. Well, that unfortunately came to an end here, but KT, why don't you feel free to take this one?
This was all Luke, man. And the thing I was really impressed about him is he was able to draw back, go in his draw city, do some top deck style draws. Ashley, KT, Brad, D1F style KT classics. He was playing D1 level, and part of it wasn't the hand. I don't think he had the hands game 1 through 4. I think they were even. I really do. And it's game 5 and 6. You can't even deny those hands were all him. But the first 4 games, Taco left some door openers. Luke left some door openers. He was playing Super League 23 strats, which you think were outdated. We need a door opener, but it worked because Taco fell for it, and he just was toying with him the whole time. I really said at the beginning of the year, it's either him or Rune is going to win this champion. I still believe that, but the more and more I think about it for these guys, or I thought about this, it really isn't about the champ. It's about promotion, right? And they all know it. A championship, you get a D2, it's a bonus. There's no Super League prize this year to come up there. There's none of that. And with that being said, it's all about just how to basically do a dress rehearsal. This is the one tournament that is a dress rehearsal because there's no best of 11s really, other than here in February Flurry, and you got to look at this and say, okay, maybe there's a dress rehearsal coming for Luke at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. I'm interested to see what he can do in the next round as he moves on. He'll get either Gio or Nathan. For Taco, my best advice for him, I think it's just going to come back down to just has to learn that hard lesson, take the hard pill to swallow. Okay, I lost to Luke 5-1, but I learned number efficiency. I learned control. I learned a little bit of split tactics. I learned a lot of stuff that maybe I would have never experienced, and now I can apply and put pressure on in a good way. That's what it's all about in this league, man. Sometimes to get back up, you got to take a beating, and Taco took his beating. He takes his lumps early. He's still... Oh, no, he had a DQ, right, round 1? I forgot.
Taco had a DQ round 1, yeah.
Right, so it's still 2 regular wins to get. If you need 5 official wins and get to the LCQ.
Yeah.
But he's on his path, right? He's on his path, or Final Four, of course. He's on a good path. But at this rate, if he makes a Final Four, that means he's already in, right? All he needs is 3 more wins. Realistically, I think this is a good tournament for Taco to take a part of it and say, okay, I got my lumps, I took my bruises, and now we move forward and try to build the platform for T2. Or archery April, of course, the themes are already set. But that's my thoughts. Luke, very scary. If he continues this rhythm, he could be the most dangerous guy out here, for sure.
Yeah, and again for Taco with the DQ wins. That DQ win could come into play if there's an event where the LCQ doesn't have 8 players. Again, the LCQ has a minimum of 8 players, and then if there's not 8 players, then it allows the DQ wins. So if Taco's at 4 wins and he has that DQ win, he'll be in. But obviously, does not want to bank on that. So we'll see how he does with that. But that'll be it for D2 with G. A bit of a longer one, but I thought this was a really good round to cover 3. So glad we were able to kind of run through this round as a whole.
Yeah, and now we'll go to the more of the. We're going to try to include these more transition topics, more of these bridge topics, I call them. The powerhouse players, and well, let's see who's remaining. And see, we always talk about every single year, every single March, especially. Are we going to get the best March Elite Eight? And I did a comparison of the Elite Eights, and we're going to exclude 2023 because the Elite Eight in 2023 was the first year to. I don't think we can compare it, right? It's not fair to compare. I'm pretty sure the only guy remaining was myself, right? Because I've been to 3 now Elite Eights. So here's what I got. Last year we had the following people make the Elite Eight. We had Casey, okay. At the time I had 3 medals. Ashley was not a medalist. Nam was not a medalist. JT was not a medalist. Abian was not a medalist. Eli, only a bronze. And Brad, no medalist. Sanford, 2 silvers. So think about this. That's 2 silvers, 3 medals there with myself with 3 bronze. So that's 5 right there. And then it's 6 medals. 6 medals and 0 trophies. Now let's look at this year. Myself, Ashley, okay, we ran it back. Here's the difference, though. I got a trophy already. That's 4 right there. Throw in Ashley. That's 2 trophies, regular season and Super League, plus 2, so that's 4. That's 8 right there. Cap's a winner, 9. Yepes, another trophy. Right, so if you're keeping score at home, that's 4 trophies right there. Right, that's the most you can get. Because of course we don't have a trophy for T5 that's instituted this year in 2023. Super regular season champ is no longer existing. So that's another trophy / gold medal player. Cap, of course, was a tournament winner back in T2. So that's another one. Lane, what did he do? Well, not only did he make that Jungle July run and got a bronze, but Super Leaguer last year. Toasty, Final Four, Super Leaguer. Chomik, Final Four, Super Leaguer, right? Who knows what could have happened if he had the actual game play out. And then you got Nick. Okay, Nick is basically the equivalent of, let's say, last year's Abian, or probably a better comparison would be Nam, the Phenom. But gee, everybody else is established. You're looking at, let's see, medals and trophies combined. We have 8, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 medals and trophies combined. And we have, let's see, 2, 3, 4 championships and 12 medals and trophies. That's 4 trophies and 8 medals. Variety of people. You have multiple states and countries represented. We have New Zealand, of course, Latvia, Venezuela, China, America. That's 5 countries of 8. That's impressive. I know we always talk about in D2 is a lot more countries, but up here you don't see that ever, to have 5 countries in an Elite Eight. Now, I know it's the usual suspect. Oh, okay, Cap made one. Okay, Chomik made one. Toasty made one. Yepes. But that just shows you the powerhouses have come to play. And I have 2 theories on why. One, I think the class system being reorganized is one of the biggest reasons. The reasons why I said the class system being reorganized was going to be a big player this year is you have actual performance clauses. And guess what? All these guys have hit clauses. They know what they got to do. Number 2, I think the more important reason, though, is I think we're starting to hit a litmus test. Or not litmus. We're hitting a peak. And the litmus in D1 is basically what it is. Everyone's competitive. Anybody can get up there. But I think in T1, there's no strength of schedule. There's no metrics to know who you're playing and what you're playing. There are certain guys who are going to hit the setup and just run. And you look at 5 out of the 8 guys, even 6 out of the 8 guys you expect to be there. KT, Ashley, Cap, Yepes, Chomik, and I'm going to throw in Lane. You expect to be, or even Toasty, excuse me. Lane and Nick are out. Nick, obviously, great story, right? 12 seed. You never expect. And then Lane, right? Considering you think he would have went through a path to Pier, or maybe, maybe he would have went through a first round loss with maybe gold or bow tie. He found a way. Okay, those two may be the underdogs, but even then, it's hard to say because Lane's been to Super League. There's only one guy that hasn't. Your thoughts on the powerhouses? Because we're going to exclude 2023 because that doesn't really count. That was more of a who's who. The thoughts on the rapid rise of basically doubled the medal count from 6 last year, and half of them were my medals, right? And Sanford on the backs of everyone. To 12 medals and trophies versus, 5 countries. Last year we only had 2. We had America versus Indonesia's hero, Avia. Versus 5 countries. State-wise, we have Florida, New Jersey, and Alabama, Ohio. That's crazy. Your thoughts on that, G?
I mean, there's honestly just a lot of international diversity across both divisions in general. Because D2 not too far behind with 4 different countries. Of course, USA being one of them, but you also have Italy, Vietnam, and then of course England. So with D1 here, it's this season. I mean, you compare it with Indonesia, America. This season, it's of course America, but also China.
New Zealand,
Latvia, and Venezuela. So a lot of diversity from all over the world. I think it's probably one of my favorite parts of the league with how much international diversity we have, and we're gonna have even more come down the line. I mean, Tournament 2 signups already have a few people. We have someone from Portugal playing, and we have someone from Russia playing. So adding even more. So that's gonna be very exciting. But going back to it, I'm wondering if this is just gonna be a trend going forward. Because I mean, technically last season, that was only the second time March Madness had been ran, so there's still not really much to go off of. But this time, you have a little bit more of base going forward. I feel confident that we have roughly the best 64 players here right now. And I say roughly because obviously it's not the exact top 64, but I think roughly everyone's at least... I would say everyone here roughly is in at least the top 70, 75 in the league, but... ultra competitive, but the cream rises to the top, as we said before, and we see a lot of these contenders coming up to the top, especially from last season. It does say something when the lowest seed here is the 12 seeded Nick, and then the second lowest seed is a 5 seed, which was someone who barely missed Super League. So a lot of the people who were contenders last season really coming back to show that they are not a one-trick pony, and it's going to be a really interesting round in general. I know we're going to have our predictions here in just a bit, but I'm honestly impressed with the I guess not really a ton of randomness here in this Elite 8. A lot of these players know that they earned their spot here, and it's going to be interesting to watch out for. And I mean, really, again, we only have really one Cinderella left in the bracket in Nick. Everyone else here is a contender to win the whole thing. And that's not to say Nick's not a contender to win the whole thing, because he is here, but he's definitely in a league of his own right now compared to everyone else, and not in the way that it usually is. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for this round. Hopefully we have a lot of good games, and we'll have our Final Four set.
Yep, looking forward to it, obviously. Another thing to note before we move on to the Elite Eight, we had 2 classes now settled. Well, it's 3 classes. Technically 2 more this round, but we have 3 classes. So Goldie won in the round of 32. We talked about that with me and Short. Goldie took him. We'll get your...
Actually, you
want to say something?
I do want to say something at that. We had 5 rookies in the round of 32. I was a bit surprised none of them made it out of that round. I'm not sure what happened across the board. I know Goldie came very close to beating Caesar, but everywhere else, I'm not really sure. Camaro Stingray, that was a stunner of a win against Sanford in the first round, so I think the fact he even made it there was impressive enough, because, I mean, as much as I thought Camaro was good, I was not thinking March Madness was going to be where he had a big showing here, which, I mean, round of 32, I don't know if you really say that, but getting a win over Sanford is a big start to the season.
Under controversial circumstances, of course.
That too. And then also, Hockey, I think, is in the same camp as Camaro, where I thought he had a good opening round, but this round of 32 was kind of what I came to expect from him in the back half of the D2 season. So that kind of showed his face. So those two, I guess it wasn't really that surprising. It ended up the way it was. I was a bit surprised Jenna Nick wasn't as close. Wasn't close. It was 4-1. Jenna had a really great showing in the first round, 4-2 over Brock, but I don't know, something just didn't go right game day for Jenna. But I expect her to bounce back from that. And then there's one more I'm looking through, but I can't find it. Background, yeah. Again, same thing with Jenna. I'm just not sure what happened. I just think background could not find the cards really, and he was put in a tough spot.
There was a bot issue that happened. The bot had an issue, and then mid game they had to restart the game. He just got pissed.
Yeah, that too. That kind of just caused a lot of chaos. And I mean, background's been one of the unluckiest players when it comes to a bunch of nonsense happening. So, yeah, I mean, if it's a normal game, I think background very much could have had a chance to win that. But when nonsense comes into play, it kind of throws him at a complete disadvantage. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it went. But I'm surprised not a single rookie made it out of this round. We'll see how it goes down the line, especially with some of them getting higher seedings in the next tournament. But I'm hoping for a little bit more from that. Again, 0-5 in this round was a bit surprising, but I do expect the rookies to have a better showing in tournament 2.
And we'll go real quick. Novice class champion Nick, thoughts on that? Outlasting Sting, Andy, and I think someone else. Let me check to confirm. Logan, I think that was the 4. Yeah, he outlasted those guys. Thoughts on that real quick?
I mean, Nick's had a great run through this tournament so far, so not that surprising that he ends up as a novice class champion. I know people are saying this is technically the first novice class champion. Yeah. I know people are saying this is technically the first novice class champion, but technically the novice class is just the sophomore class with a different coat of paint. So, yes and no, but Nick with the new shiny trophy with the new name. And honestly, good for Nick, because I know he was a little bit questionable about himself last season, but this is a really great start to the year, and I feel like he has nothing to lose at this point because he is by far the biggest underdog going into this these regional finals. So, for Nick, I expect him to go balls against the wall, and just do absolutely anything possible to get the win to make the Final Four and even beyond. So, looking forward to that, and again, congratulations to Nick on the novice class. We'll see what he does for the rest of the season, and it's a good start to him for winning the overall season for novice class.
Vets class, we will have 2 people left before we get into the Masters, and that's going to be Lane versus Toast. Obviously, 2 opposite ends. The only way those guys would meet would be the finale. Hard to say. We'll kind of save that. I guess we'll say that for the predictions, who they're going to predict. G, but your thoughts on Lane versus Toasty and Vets to go? Thoughts on that one? That's going to be interesting.
Quick spoiler for my predictions. I think this class gets decided at the end of this round. Which way it will be, you'll see. But both have had good tournaments so far. And both have different opponents going into this lane, with a tough opponent in you, and then Toaster Guy trying to shut down the Cinderella. So we'll see. I think both bring a different style to the game, and we'll have 2 different challenges ahead in this regional final round. So. Looking forward to seeing how that goes, but again, I think this class will be determined before the round ends.
Big win for Chomik and Masters, outlasting basically Jay Caesar. That was the only real threat other than Clay. Clay also was in there, but Clay unfortunately fumbled, a tough loss for him. Thoughts on Chomik with that was, I guess, the other guy. Not so much a vengeance tournament. I think it was just more. He wanted to sell the sport with logistics, which, that seems to happen with him. But your thoughts on him winning the Masters class? That's basically an all-new look class. Not so much the name, but the players that got moved up and dropped down, such as Ard, right, yourself, Varigold, and the players that moved up with Nam. Of course, Ari as well dropped down, and other players moving up. Caesar being a staple. Thoughts on him winning that class?
I mean, technically, since Clay played before, this was the first class championship in a tournament in a way. But I think Chomik just had a good game plan, and I think he was more focused on getting the missed match with Ashley. So I think that was his main motivation going into this, and he gets a class championship win for the tournament alongside it. So big win for Chomik there. We'll see how he does going forward, but I think he was more motivated to getting that that match he never got in Super League going into the Caesar one. So slightly different motivation into that, but was locked in and ready, and then ends up winning the Masters class.
Legends, we're not going to discuss. There's 4 of us left. We know Cap and Yepes, one's got to go. Ashley, myself. The other side, I think we'll just save that for the prediction. That can go in any direction. Honest to God, we only know one's going. So let's get into it now. We're going to start it off. Ashley Chomick, this is the Lost Files of Athens, the first ever Super League game, never happened, and hopefully last. This is going to be a great game. Ashley had just played Allen, which is basically Chomick in a way with the split ammo, and that is the one thing I'm concerned with Chomick going into this game. Ashley has 90 minutes of tape with basically a player that Chomick plays the same style with. That's my only concern with Chomick. If Allen wasn't in this region, I would have said Chomick would have won this game. But because she can go back to that tape, I'm going to have to go Ashley 5-4. I think it'll be another bruiser. It's not going to be a sweep. 2 power plays. I don't think even Ashley used the power play against Lowe. I think they only used 1. I think that's a little bit of a cap in her feather. I think Chomick's going to play his heart out. I think it's just too much Ashley here, G. Just towards the end, I think that's where she comes in clutch. And as the endurance continues, she'll get the win 5-4. What do you think?
I have Ashley 5-3. I think this will be a interesting match to watch out for, but ultimately I think when it comes down to the later half, Ashley's going to have that composure and mentality to get the job done. So I think Ashley gets ahead 4-2. Chomick gets 1-4-3, but Ashley's going to be in a spot where she knows she has all the time in the world to be able to close the game out, or the series out. So I think Ashley stays composed, gets things done, and wins it 5-3. It's going to be an interesting one versus 2. And despite some of the upsets we've seen in this region, interesting to see how we end up with the top 2 seeded players going at it. 1v8 for the overall seeds.
Yeah, that was basically what we were supposed to get in Super League. Basically, if you're Charles Sanford's keeping score at home, there you go. 1-1 for the brackets. Now, this one almost got it. Obviously, lost good old JT at the start of the round, but Cap Yepez almost has a 1-2 field. These guys both know each other. Cap, obviously, with a lot of momentum. Yepez riding high as well in this Vengeance tour. I think Yepez actually will pull through and make it a great game compared to his first time around, but I think Cap's just got too much momentum. The low tide is lethal. I think Cap's going to pull this one out on 9. It's too close to call in terms of going anything less than 9. I think Cap will get it done. It's just too dangerous for style. You made a good point. If he gets away 3-0, that's not a style you're just going to be able to combat that and go upper tier, because you know his low tier's coming, and it's hard to stop. Obviously, we know it was stopped in the Super League, but that was exponential circumstances of scheduling and logistics that went out the wazoo. And then he also won T2, where who knows if he was trying half the year after that. And that's the thing. If you win T1 or 2, you can play games. And I think Cap isn't going to play any games anymore. I'm going him 5-4, and he keeps the Legends class going with him and Ashley. Thoughts on that?
I think this one's interesting. Again, Yepez runs with full rage here, so even if he gets mad during the game, I don't think that's going to stop him. Sometimes the frustrations can take someone out. I don't think it will for Yepez. If there's someone who I think could combat the this fast-paced this fast low tier style, it could be Yepez. But I mean, we saw last season how that went. So I'm not sure, but I do think the motivation is stronger for Yepez, so I think he's going to find a way to reverse fortunes here and get a 5-4 win. Because I know Yepez is, I mean, no matter what way you put it, Yepez is significantly more motivated to win this tournament than Captain. So I have Yepez winning this one.
What was the score again? 5-4?
5-4.
Okay, so flip a flop. Be an interesting one. Next game, Nick Toasty. I think this is the opportunity game. You know, Nick, a lot of opportunity to make a statement. I think he will make a statement, but it's not enough, man. This is a rematch. I know it was the 5-on-1. I just somewhere in my heart, it's just so hard to play Toaster guy's style, man. He doesn't have one. And Baber made a really good point. Do we really know what his style? No, I played him once, and it's just impossible to figure out. He makes bold calls and bold claims, and catch me if you can. That's a tough one. That's tough. I think Nick will put up a fight. I think Toasty wins this one 5-3. I think it's just going to be a little bit too much, and Toast makes his second Final Four, and we'll get a 4 in showdown, no matter what, because it's 2 versus 3 in the Final Four in that pot. What do you says you?
I mean, this is the thing. We've seen Cream of the Crop rise to the top here so far in this tournament, and Nick's kind of the odd man out. So it's going to be a tough one. I think he's gonna put up a good fight, but I think Toaster is just gonna be able to kind of use that home field to his advantage here and get it done. I have another 5-3 here, with this one going the Toaster guy, which I think slightly spoils who I think is gonna win the last match. But yeah, I think Toaster guy's had some close calls here and there, but overall I think he's had a similar run to what he did in May Masquerade. So I would not be surprised if he makes the Final Four here and keeps it going. And for Nick, it would be the end of the run, but I think a good run nonetheless. I just think he gets beat to the punch here. And I think, unfortunately, the Magic runs out with how many top guys are ending up getting the wins here.
Well, G, it's always good. It's always good to be in this later episode of the tournaments, and you don't have to make a prediction on your own. It means you really went far. And well, dating back to our 2023 third place games, I've won. You're not going to believe it, right? I've won 10 games in a row in this one tournament alone. My career is pretty much, without this tournament, I would be dead in the water, along with T5 as well. I think there's a stat. I think Sanford did it for me. Or someone did it. Someone said I've won, I want to say 15 out of my 20 wins have been these two T1 and 5 alone. So if it wasn't for these tournaments, I'd be dead. All I'm going to say with this is Lane Sanders. I think he's pulled something amazing. No +4s. It has to make me think, okay, what actually went wrong for Clay? And I have to study this one. Been very impressed with his power play game, but I will say, I think this is going to be a game that comes down. I'm not going to make a prediction on this. I think it's going to be a game comes down to just composure. I know he's had composure issues in the past. I'm not a guy to do that with him. If I know you really well, I don't really play games on a table. This thing was a little bit different. He kind of ran himself to the old course. I'm not a guy to do that. I don't think it'll be a crack show as many people think on composure for him. I look forward to playing him, man. History's on the line, G. If I get the win, 3 Final Fours in the same tournament, you know how we say Tapir is going to be untouchable with back-to-back tournament wins in D2? I think this is almost untouchable and unheard of. I think that's what's on the line for me. That's the biggest thing I got going. Lane, he's got the long-term momentum with knowing how to win games with low ammo, and that's a stat that I used to do back in the day. So it's gonna be a good game. It's all you here. It's only you that can predict it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna use this for soundboards. I mean, with you and T1 and T5, it's like this.
Yes, sir.
Hungry Fox. Okay. Apologies, but and then middle of the season, it's. Yeah, just not very good. So I think a win here is going to be big for you. You're going to need it because if history goes, tournaments 2-4, not very strong for you. So that being said, I do think you win this one, and I think this one's actually very convincingly in a 5-2. Haven't missed the Final Four in March. I don't think that's gonna. I don't think you're gonna miss one this season. I think Lane has put up a good run so far, but I think there's just too much working against him right now. In terms of the table. So I think you win this 5-2, move on to the Final Four, would face Ashley in a rematch of the final from last season. So it would be interesting to see how that plays out. I know Ashley would be looking for a little revenge there, but overall, that's all I really got for the predictions. So again, 5-2, you winning, and that would be your third Final Four in March.
Yep, we'll just kind of run it out. Obviously, I'm not going to... It's really... I guess I'm only going to let you, G. I want to see how you think the rest of the tournament. Let's just say... So you have... Because I can't really make a prediction because it's not fair. I'm still in it. Right, so it's going to be all you. You had Ashley, me, and then it'd be... What was it? Yepes, Toast?
Yepes, Toasty. Yeah.
All right, so you got 3 champions and Toaster Guy, right? 2 world champions in Super League, a March champion, and Toaster Guy. Your thoughts on how this plays out, who gets it done? This is our last episode, of course.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to start this off with a hot take here. I actually think you might be a little disappointed with this, but with you, Ashley, I actually think Ashley gets revenge in a actually decently convincing manner. I'd have it like at 6-3 because I think Ashley will want to make sure she gets some justice for what happened last season. So she's going to come out the gate swinging. I think that one, she runs away with it and takes it. And then for Yepes Toasty, this would set up a very interesting final, but I would have Yepes winning 6-4. I think he gets behind a little bit at the start, but then pulls things back, and then that would leave Ashley Yepes, the 2 world champions of the league, in the final. And then from there, I think Ashley would win 6-5. I think Ashley becomes the first person to win Super League and then win March. Or
it's best of 13 though.
Oh, it's best of I forgot. It's best of 13. 7-6 then. 7-6.
Cool.
But again, it's that would be a really interesting final, and that's what we could see. We'll see if it happens, and I think that would kind of add to the prestige of March if we do get that final. But yeah, interesting. A lot of interesting scenarios that could play out going into this. So we'll see what happens. But if you had to tell me right now, I have actually winning March Madness to start the season off strong, and pretty much just start the season with her spot already booked for Super League. So won't have to really wait that long again. But yeah, I have Ashley winning the tournament, and I think we'll throw a fun third place prediction in there. I'm gonna say you beat Toasty in a game that is very bad. Why it's bad, I don't know, but I think you win like 4-2, and it's like a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, that's just a little fun prediction. But that's my predictions for the rest of the tournament here, as a very brief rundown of it.
Well, that would happen. That'd be what, 4 bronze medals? My gosh. Might as well send me to the Olympics. Just put me on the bronze stage. We'll see, though. Give me a fun one. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to see how it wraps up. This has been arguably the fastest tournament we've ever done. I know we call it March Madness, and having started the March game, we won't start our first March game until Toasty Nick in March on March 1. But welcome to the league, where you got to speed things up. It's just how it works. Obviously, February Flurry made sense because there's no games you have to be played in March till we get till. I want to say March game, Mark England.
I mean, the February Flurry has been running quick too. If that one ends and March Madness is still going after 3 days, technically February Flurry would be quicker, but we'll see how that goes. I would still think both probably end at around the same time.
Yeah, at same time for sure. It's gonna be a good one, G. I look forward to the end of it. I want to thank him for coming back on the show. And thanks to Short Man for covering that last episode. It was good to rip a couple and go from there. Looking forward to that. We'll see if we can get him on another episode. For myself and G, check us out on YouTube. Obviously, we have some issues with our audio, but not audio, but audio platforms. We hope to get that resolved or some edgy soon. But check us out on YouTube, our home base for now. Let us know who's going to win North Spanish and who's got February Flurry on lock too. You never know. Down there, anyone can have a shot. Luke right now looks menacing, but I ain't making it happen. Check us out. Thank you guys for coming out. We'll see you back here with a recap episode, which will be the whole rounds of E8 through onwards sometime in March. We'll see you in March, guys. Stay well.